want to zoom out and talk about what crypto actually means, okay? Crypto is just short for cryptography. Cryptography. Cryptography means that you can send a message and the other person can verify it. And people that aren't supposed to get the message aren't able to get the message. So they just prove, and then it's all provable. You are all able to know. Like, you're able to know that the end person read the message. They're able to know that it really was you sending the message. And you're both able to know that no one else was able to get the message. That's what cryptography is. It's using computers to be able to do that and do that type of messaging. So then applying that to like crypto, what the internet means by crypto now when we say it, and like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain, Web3, like all these words, what crypto means for that is like when Bitcoin was invented. So Bitcoin was first put on the internet Halloween day of 2008, and then it started, the first Bitcoin block happened in 2009. Okay? The Bitcoin solved another computer science problem called the Byzantine generals problem, which was, again, you can read the situation, but it's like if a bunch of generals are all around about to attack a city, but you don't know which general might flip and like not be trustworthy, how can everyone align to like go and attack the city at the exact same time, right? And so that's the cryptography, using cryptography to send messages so that you all can confirm that you're all on the same page, even when there's malicious actors. What this did was it allowed it physically, like a byproduct of Bitcoin being born, is that like digital cash, a digital bearer instrument, was possible for the very first time. Okay, so think about like email was around, like the internet came around, email was around. Now, if I sent you an email, both me and you can read the message, but if anyone else, like everyone else, can also read the message. And also, that doesn't work as money because we now both have a copy of the same message. Like when I send it over, we can no longer prove that the message is no longer like in my control and now it's fully in your control. So I'm like passing you a copy of the words being written down. Whereas Bitcoin, using cryptography, when I send you a Bitcoin transaction, it's now provably no longer in my wallet. So that's what created digital cash. And what do I mean by cash? Like the bearer asset part of it. Like, because when you have a $20 bill, if I have a $20 bill and I hand you the $20 bill, you now physically have that $20 bill. There's not, I don't also still have a copy of the 20. Okay. And that's why cash has very unique properties. Like if you lose your wallet and you lose the $20 in the wallet, you can't call up the bank and be like, hey, can you replace that $20 bill for me, that one for me? Whereas like electronic transactions, ACH transactions, wire transactions, Venmo transactions are all reversible. Those are all reversible. If you make a mistake and you call in, you can change it back. And so that's not digital cash. And that's important to think about and important to know, because some people get tripped up on like, oh, well, why does Bitcoin have value? Why does crypto have value? It has value because of that bearer asset nature. There's no digital way to send a bearer asset before Bitcoin. That literally was what the invention was. That it was a genuine computer science breakthrough for humanity. That's why it has value. And it all hinges on the whole concept of cryptography in computer science. And so that's what the Bitcoin blockchain is. It's a chain of all the transactions, and it's just provable. When you download the Node software and you run the Node software, you're looking at the same batch of transactions, the same chain of transactions that I'm looking at when I'm looking at the Node software. And okay, what does this have to do with Bitcoin's like hard cap, like the hard cap of 21 million? That's a rule that the node software has. And because of like the mechanics of the network, if you change the rules and if you try to pass off a fraudulent message, if you try to pass off an inflated, like you change your wallet balance, you download the software, change your wallet balance, and then try to pass it off to me, the network doesn't let you do that. It's seen as a copy and a not good copy. So it's rejected by the network. And so that's what the miners, like that's what the miners are doing all the time. Like Bitcoin miners, also like miners is just a random, like that's an analogy that we're trying to just make an analogy to like anything else to like help it explain, okay? But in the same way that each bank has cybersecurity that protect the bank balances and don't allow people to see inside, so the miners are protecting the Bitcoin balances, and they're being rewarded by new issuance of Bitcoin. So that's where mining comes from. That's where cryptography comes from. And that's why crypto shorthand now is shorthand for all these other buzzwords that are out there. And now every other altcoin, so then you hear the term altcoins. Altcoins are like basically cryptocurrencies that have been invented after Bitcoin, okay? And they all share different properties. So when you're thinking about Bitcoin, you really want to see that as like, that was a computer science breakthrough for humanity. It was a brand new invention. And it also provably has, like, there's no public founder. And now it's just an open source project, the most successful open source project in the world, with no public founder that can issue new shares. No one can change the rules of the nodes. Cryptography keeps all of that like in line, okay? All the other altcoins, the analogy I use for them is they're a lot more like startups or a lot more like companies than they are like the 0 to 1 breakthrough that Bitcoin was. Now, some people argue with that and they'll say like, oh, they're decentralized. Like you hear this word decentralized. Fair, and a lot of them are open source, right? They're protocols. And I would say fair, okay? Fair, you're right. It's not 100% accurate to call them companies. It's not, because they're not. They're not companies. And I no longer believe we should live in a world where the United States government defines what a company is. Like a company is just people that show up and work on an enterprise together. But just we've gotten so convoluted on like what that is, and then like accredited investor laws and like all these stuff, who can even invest in a company and start a company, like there's a ton of problems in that causes finance to be very like gate kept and opaque. Other cryptocurrencies are basically hybrids now between the 0 to 1 that Bitcoin did with no public founder and like centralized companies that are fully based effectively at the whim of the United States government and the United States like stock market, right? So the fact that a hybrid open source protocols exist is awesome and good. And they also all use cryptography so that you can verify what's going on. Because here's an example, like an example of that is, so when you send an ACH transaction, you are not allowed to run an ACH node. You can't run an ACH network node. You're not allowed to be a part of that network. But cryptocurrencies, you are allowed to run a node. You can run a node. You can be a node on the network. And then you can look at the blockchain and you can verify things that you need to verify. So it's no longer relying on like the trust. You're no longer relying on trusting that the balances are correct. You can see that they're correct. You know, like when you apply for a mortgage and you have to like send over all your paperwork. But what are you doing? You're just downloading PDFs. You're downloading pieces of paper and emailing pieces of paper. You could create pieces of paper that say, this is my bank balance, right? And that's how you're showing proof of funds. But that's the difference between on-chain finance, on-chain crypto finance, and the old world. That's why crypto is a improvement on the legacy financial system, because you're able to prove what's there.